Hello and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 11th of December 2013. As always, today's episode is brought to you by the links in the description. So in today's news, we have a few different things actually, and it's all pretty good. So first of all, we have the patch 5.4.2 in-game store, then some, things that need to be hotfixed after 5.4.2 launch. They haven't been done yet, but it's all stuff that's on the way. Some talk about the book, story, and how I think they should be handling Warlords of Draenor, or at least in terms of the intro, and then finally we'll round it off with some very interesting tweets from our good friend Celestian. So first of all, the 5.4.2 in-game store. It's here. The Americans found that out yesterday, and I found that out about half an hour ago when I logged in the morning. So yep, it's here. You can buy the pets and mounts directly inside World of Warcraft, and they are currently doing a 50% off sale for all pets that are not the Blossoming Ancient, Alteric Brewpup, or Fey Dragon. That makes sense, of course, because they're just the most, recent ones. Now, this promotion will last until the 1st of January 2014. That's it's, 20 days in and around, so I suppose that is definitely quite a while. They're going to make a lot of money. They are going to make a lot of money. This is a very savvy business decision. This store is coming in right before Christmas. People are going to get some, some spare cash, stuff like that, floating about from gifts and things like that. Or maybe people want to gift each other pets. Well, you can just do that now, I guess, and Blizzard are going to get a lot of money. Personally, I think that it's all cosmetic. So, on a fundamental level, I don't particularly care. Just as long as the new pets and mounts and things like that are in this store, they're not things, they shouldn't be things that are currently relevant to the game's setting. For an example, say the new Armored Bloodwing. That's a Warlords of Draenor themed mount, so I really think that should be either the Collector's Edition mount, as is the tradition, or be an in-game thing. Now, it's fine that, a little bit after the content, sure, you can have mounts that are themed around that, but what I mean is, say, a Siege of Orgrimmar themed mount, that shouldn't be the sort of thing that comes out in the store before Siege of Orgrimmar. Much in the same way I think that a Warlords of Draenor one, like the Armored Skywing, shouldn't be on the store in and around the time when Warlords is coming out. I'm okay with it being on the Collector's Edition because that's just the tradition, it's how things have went, but ideally, of course, I'd like it to be an in-game thing. Still, while it was put in the store, I don't think many people actually believe that'll be a place it permanently resides. So yeah, I think that the in-game store should just be for pets and mounts that are kind of, they're different, I suppose, from the norm that's going around in the current expansion, and they're the sort of thing where they just stick an art team on it for a little bit of time, and then a new thing pops up in the store. I think that's the best way to do it. But of course, ideally, the more things that are free and available for all players, the better. We all pay this subscription, and I think ultimately what everyone wants is as much possible content as possible. That was a really messy sentence. Anyway, let's talk about 5.4.2 and how it messed up some shit. So first of all, PvP people. Well, you might notice the dampening is now starting at 5 minutes and your arenas only last 15 minutes. This was an unintentional change because of some BlizzCon stuff. Basically in BlizzCon they needed the matches to be a little bit snappier for the arena tournament, so this was changed. And some silly person ended up letting this get into patch 5.4.2 and it got pushed out into live. Now there was a little bit of misinformation when Helinka said that they were just testing the water with this. That was later debated internally and they've come out with a statement saying that it's not intentional and that they are going to be issuing a hotfix as soon as possible, but not yet. Now in 5.4.2 there was also a tweak. A tweet? No. What? What even word am I saying? It's not twerk. A tweak for hunter pets in Arena. Basically, there was an issue where you could circumvent some cooldowns like Roar of Sacrifice, or swap out a pet for a higher pet, like a higher HP pet, because you just dismiss it halfway through the battle. That wasn't really intended in their design, because they want you to set up a pet and choose it and all that sort of thing before the match. I think this makes the most sense, and I'm glad they've removed dismiss pet as being a thing you can do in arenas. Now next, let's move on to some blue talk, and this is about the book. I think it's called War Crimes, yes. So a lot of Garrosh's trial is going to be covered in the upcoming War Crimes book. I think this comes out in July or something like that. So to alleviate some concerns about the story in the book, just sort of taking things out of the game just for the purpose of sticking it in a book, they said a few different things. First of all, they said that the book allows for a deeper story to be explored for those who want it, and also that turning some elements of a story like that into a compelling gameplay experience doesn't really work out that well. So one thing that's probably worth mentioning, just for the people who are saying, oh, Blizzard are just money grubbing. Look, if they were money grubbing, they wouldn't make a damn book. These books, okay, they are profitable, but it's more like the thing where they do them because they know they'll make a profit, they're a bit of fun, and it gets some good story out that they could probably use later on. That's the main reason why they do these books. It's not some sort of shameless money grab. No, that's not what it is. So in my opinion, they are absolutely correct. Books and MMOs are very different in terms of how they tell stories, and they can definitely explore a lot more in a book, and I think a book is the right place to be trying to tell the deeper story that involves more characters and things like that. Often they say they have to cut out characters from the game because they need to be able to tell a compelling story within the limitations, and if they're stuffing in loads of characters and things like that, it just gets confusing to players, it feels disjointed, and it's a bit crappy. I think a good example is they had some cool things planned with Sylvanas for the whole, rebellion thing. They just weren't able to make it into the game because of the way things were going. I think Rexxar was also apparently going to be involved in that as well, but honestly I do think they should have put Rexxar in because the Horde people probably would have loved to see him because he's a pretty cool guy. So yeah, as for the WoW side of things, well, what do I think they should do? I think there should be a small quest line, not something massive, but perhaps it could be, maybe you're escorting Garrosh to the trial in Pandaria, maybe you're attacked by some Iron Horde loyalists or something, so you take them out, and you get to the trial, maybe there's one or two things to do, but basically you get a decent look at the trial in a way that makes sense in the game. Then we have a cinematic for Garrosh escaping and all that shit going down, and then that jumps us right into the world event. I think that would be the perfect way to do it because the story still feels quick, it's snappy, it would probably be great fun, and I just think it would be a great way of getting everybody up to speed on the lore, on why this stuff's happening, and yeah, I think it would be great. If you guys have some sort of idea of how we should launch into this new expansion, do let me know, because I think they can do some pretty cool stuff. Now, of course, we don't actually know how Garrosh is going to get there. I think we're 99% sure it's via the Dark Portal. All that Karazhan speculation is true in that it exists, but whether Blizzard will do that, we don't know. In BlizzCon, they were talking about the entrance to Old Draenor being the Dark Portal, so it probably makes sense that Garrosh will go there. Now, what will the actual world event be? Well, I'd say it could be really one of two things. It could I suppose it could possibly be us trying to stop Garrosh or some big battle that happens at the Dark Portal or something like that. But I think what's more likely is that there's an initial limited invasion of some Iron Horde scouts. I forget what clan it is. It's the one that's based in Gorgrond. I think the clan that does the wolf riding that isn't the Frostwolves. Those guys, I think they should just jump in through the portal as a vanguard. And maybe just start trying to wreak havoc, and then the players can have some fun around with that. I think it's really important they launch this expansion with a fun world event, because honestly, I think that the Mists of Pandaria one was absolutely damn awful. It was just bad. It was just one bloody little scenario. No, do something fun. Ugh. The Cataclysm one I didn't think was that great either. I really loved the Northrend one. I thought that was extremely fun. The whole undead invasion, and it actually felt like a damn invasion. I know it was kind of disruptive for about 2 weeks, but it was still one of those things that only happens for 2 weeks, and it's a memory that people can carry forward, so it's really good. So, yeah, hopefully they kind of do something that's a little bit more memorable than just a scenario, or something like that. Now, next, let's talk about some blue tweets and things like that. So in regards to tertiary stats being on gems and enchants and that sort of thing, Celestian said that gems are no, and enchants are not really final, but it's definitely unlikely. Things like, say, speed and boots will still exist though for enchants. Now I think this is actually the best way to do it, because tertiary stats are something that you want to keep from being rare, or from being certain. You don't want to just be able to get them. They should be rare and unplannable, which I think fits with the whole bonus stats mentality of Warforged tertiaries and extra sockets. So I think that it also probably wouldn't be as fun if people could just spec their character into a specific tertiary stat. For an example, imagine in, say, PvP, right? If one player was able to fully spec themselves into bonus move speed stuff. That wouldn't be cool, right? No, it wouldn't. So, yeah, stuff like that. Maybe a tank that goes fully into lifesteal. Because of enchanting, it would allow that to be overpowered, rather than just a little thing that appears very rarely on gear. So, I definitely think that keeping these off enchants and things that players can directly control is a good thing. Just keep this fun stuff on the rolls, because really the purpose of these stats is to make loot drops more fun and make loot more varied by allowing you to just tack on whatever tertiary stats you want onto gear. It just makes all of the gear, and especially the more special gear, well, it makes it all less interesting and less unique and less special, which is not what they want. Next, in regards to spell effects, they said that they have actually started toning up your own spell effects, and then toning down some other people's. And there's more of this to come in Warlords of Draenor, and it definitely sounded to me like we haven't really seen the full extent of it. Overall, I think this is quite fantastic because it keeps the screen less crowded and it doesn't really punish older computers that badly. It's funny, you know, like, I come from the perspective of, I've had a very, very powerful computer for quite a while. Like, I'm always upgrading it and it's really a hobby to me. But there's a lot of people who are not even gamers. Like, okay, they are gamers, but they're not like the sort of people that play lots of games. They just have World of Warcraft and they maybe play it on their laptop or something. And for those people, it kind of sucks when they have to raid at 5 frames a second because spell effects are getting ridiculous. Now, of course, I really think that what Blizzard should do is constantly expand the high end of graphics and then just allow things to scale right back down for those people. But still, from a gameplay perspective, I actually think this makes a lot of sense. Visual clutter is a big problem, and it's actually a problem for us humans. There's a bit of a thing, it's called noise. Now, I don't mean the thing you hear with your ears, but visual noise. So it's when you're looking at the screen and there's just so many flashing lights and action bars and things appearing and stuff that your brain just doesn't really process it all that well. It's noise. It's not something you hear, or you listen to, it's just noise. So I think it's definitely a good thing that they tone this down. It makes the game more readable, a little bit more playable. And that's overall quite nice. I think also in conjunction with this, while they are going around with spell effects, as I said yesterday, they need to make sure that boss spell effects are correctly corresponding to the effect, the actual damage effect. So the fire, well, I just really want it to look like exactly where it is. So yeah, you know the problem where you think you're out of something and then it kills you, and it's not fun. Anyway, so also they said that looking at some community data, they found out that ranged and melee balance is actually extremely balanced in Siege of Orgrimmar. Now, I don't really have much to say on this personally. I suppose it wasn't as good in, say, Throne of Thunder, but it's nice that right now range and melee balance is good, and as much as we can argue this on an individual basis, what matters is metadata. What matters is they see 7.6 million players, well, okay, however many of those are raiding, and they see the numbers, they see the actual real facts. And when you debate with facts, you're quite hard to beat, and they're probably quite hard to beat in this regard. Finally, they said that in Warlords of Draenor we're going to have a lot more variety in gear, but that was the main thing of the tweet, but the side comment was that reforging actually ended up making gear more of the same, and I think that side comment's actually probably one of the best arguments against reforging, right? Because reforging, okay, it was a tedious hassle because every time you needed to wear a new piece of gear, you had to go to your reforge vendor. If you were like me, you were an idiot and you could never locate it in Stormwind when you weren't there, which was always very annoying. But one problem is that if you imagine gear as being, say, plotted on a chart, and this is a chart with a range of +50 to -50, and 0 is ideal. And all gear is kind of, none of the gear is actually at 0, it's just kind of above or below. Well, what Reforging did is it kind of tried to homogenize everything towards that baseline. And the problem with that is it just made gear less individual and less interesting, and just more boring overall. It just made it all kind of similar. Whereas in Warlords of Draenor, we're going to have lots of different combinations of gear, plus all the tertiary bonus things and stuff we can get, and I just think it'll be way more varied and fun. Okay, I foresee perhaps some mild balancing issues when it comes to people getting really lucky and getting 4 of the same tertiary stat on gear, and on 4 different pieces of gear, but overall I think it's absolutely good for the game, and Reforging, good riddance, although I do understand how it was nice for tanks and healers. That said, you guys are still going to be able to choose between stuff that has, say, bonus armor or bonus spirit when it comes to your secondary items, so you're not left high and dry in that regard. Anyway, that is it for today's Warcraft Daily. If you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you feel like I deserve a little bit of a tip for what I do, you can use one of the affiliate linky thingies in the description. Don't worry, it doesn't cost you any more, and it just helps me out with bills. Anyway, that's it for today's show. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.